4 families, and we've lived by each other. We bought property together 12 years ago, Jeff and I, his brother Brett, and his wife and children now. My good friend Debbie is a pastor, and her husband and 2 kids, and a 4th couple. So we lived by each other, at first with each other, in a farmhouse, and then by each other. And we slowly helped each other build our houses, and at least we helped Jim and Debbie build their house. And we're still friends. So this is about living on the land in rural Minnesota, being a writer and a mother. And Dad asked me to read a little bit, and I'm going to read from the essay Inherited Beauty, which is about the Romanian side.
Go, Linda!
Go, Linda!
Hey.
It's kind of funny because Mom bought the copy, and then she gave a copy to her brother, Richard. And he said, "What's this with all the Romanians? Where are the Italians?" And I wrote him back and said, "That deserves its own book, and it's going to be a novel. It's going to be fiction." But this is just the beginning, I think, of something bigger. And it took me several years to piece this together. I'm just going to read a few passages about Grandma. So this is Dad's mother, Sophia.
Oh, that's my favorite chapter.
Thank you. And it's me remembering Easter 1970. It's Saturday, Easter weekend, 1970. We pull into the gravel drive where Grandma Sophia is waiting for us in the backyard with her hair in a net and her stout body in a faded cotton apron that hangs down to her black tennis shoes. She holds me in her fleshy arms. Grandma's voice is hidden, her words wrapped in Romanian like cotton swabbing. The way she says chicken, cinculation. I look down at her hands, fingers like sausages, red-skinned with dark man nails. Hands that packed meat for 20 years in the cooler at Sugardale factory. Tended her half-acre garden, raised 6 kids, and fended off blows from a husband when he drank too much. Hands that made pigs in the blanket, mamaliga, chorba, sweet flaky kalak.
Sounds so familiar.
I'm going to step ahead to when Grandma limps over to the mantel and brings down the mason jar. I stare at the jagged gray stone in her hand as she tells me how she was mowing the lawn by the mailbox when the stone shot through the mower and lodged into her leg. Her face crumples at the memory. After yelling for help, she dragged herself to the house where she called one of her daughters. I sit on the couch in the living room, cramped with relatives, and my eyes move from the black and white photos on the wall, a close-up of Grandpa George, who died before I was born, to the mason jar on the mantel. The stone looks like all the others in the driveway, yet it is set apart. Later, I will think about how Grandma is comforted by holding the stone, by being able to locate the source of her pain. So much pain has lost the memory of its origin. We squeeze in around the dining room table covered with a cleaned and ironed cotton cloth. It seems there is so much to eat that all the food can't come out at once. We dunk Grandma's soft, crusty Romanian bread in our soupa de gana, chicken soup, trying to scoop up some of the slippery, thin noodles. I am aware of the creak of the floor as my tushas, that's Romanian for aunt, and Grandma go in and out of the kitchen. But mostly I am caught up in eating slice after slice of Grandma's bread soaked with broth. In her calm voice, Tusha Helen keeps the conversation going with questions about school and our mom and her stories about working in the dental office. Grandma brings out sarmale, stuffed cabbage, and slices of mamaliga, cooked cornmeal that Dad had stirred earlier with a broomstick in a metal pail. Far into the meal, I sense before I notice that Grandma has stopped her path from the kitchen to the dining room and has finally sat down on the chair nearest the door. From the look on her face, she's thinking about the next thing needing to be done. Dad and my tushas bring her into the conversation, and for a brief while, she eats with us. I'm going to skip to the end, where I'm thinking back on everybody. At my dad's third wedding, third and final,
Yay.
I danced with little kids and old ladies who were somehow related to me, and great Uncle Ted Sema, with his blue eyes and white head of hair that was level with my nose. And I want to digress with this moment, because this was before Ceausescu was assassinated by his own people in Romania. And Uncle Ted Sema had been to Romania several times, and he and I were dancing, and I confessed to him that I wanted to go to Romania and kill Ceausescu. And I felt like this was a deep confession. You know, like I hadn't told anybody, and I kept it to myself, and I dreamed about how I would do it. And Ted took it so seriously, and he didn't blink an eye, and he said, "You can't do it. The Romanian people have to do it themselves." And he relieved me of this. You know, I thought, oh, okay.
All that in a dance?
Great Uncle Ted Sema with his blue eyes and white head of hair that was level with my nose. Uncle Ted was usually the one who started the dancing at the family reunions in Timken Park that we went to while I was growing up. The food streaming out of the cars seemed endless. I chased cousins around in the grass while women put plates and bowls on picnic tables. Later, as the light settled on the cotton tablecloths, Uncle Ted pulled Grandma Sophia from the cluster of women, and she laughed and resisted, and then for a moment I saw her body could do more than cook and brood over the next meal. Dad and Uncle Charlie got out the broomsticks and helped each other remember the traditional dances they learned in the Romanian classes they had to go to after public school. They moved those sticks around their bodies and jumped and were slim and lithe as Fred Astaire. And everyone was leaning in, singing, clapping, and remembering the source of their belonging.
Yay.
And I remember Mom, still in her own way, she liked coffee, and she kept the coffee a little perking all the time. And then she would add some sweetener. And I said, Mom, that little pill, what is that you put in there? Oh, Charles, that's just saccharini, meaning that's saccharin.
Yeah.
Saccharini. And that's the way she pronounced saccharin. And then we had a dog. He was a nice hunting dog, and we named him Fogey. Fogey. We thought he looked like an old fogey, or whatever we did. And my mother couldn't say Fogey. She'd say, Charles, why don't you get Foggy to come in? I said, Mom, it's not Foggy, it's Fogey. Then she'd get something between Fogey and Foggy. I don't know if she ever could get Fogey. But anyhow, those are some of my memories of Mom having difficulty with pronouncing things.
I think another attribute going along with Leah would be loyal son. Loyal son. Grandma's house was a house of love, and those of us that were honored to be a part of it, to visit it, we all have our own memories. And when I read Linda's book, cover to cover, I couldn't put it down, by the way. May I be her public relations, and I'm not just schmoozing her. I'm saying Linda, Leah, there's so many literary people in this family, but Linda, it's an amazing book that just really, as I wrote you in the email, I felt like I got to know you again. But when I read that section about Grandma's house, I realized how we had all partaken of the same thing.